When the Torah tells us to build a chotzer, a curtain around the chotzer Hamishkon, the Torah tells us exactly how big the curtain should be and how many amudim there should be. The problem is that there seems to be missing poles, missing posts. This is a problem that we will see that the Mefarshim discuss, and even some Rishonim discussed. What's the problem? The problem is that it's clear that for every 5 amos of the chotzer, the Torah gives 1 post. On the north and south side of the chotzer, the Torah says the north and south side of the chotzer Mishkon was 100 amos long, and the Torah says 20 amudim, which is obviously 5 amos for each post. On the Ma'ariv, where there was 50 amos, which was 50 amos wide, the Torah says you should have 10 posts, which is again 5 amos per post, and it's 5 times 10 is 50. And the same as in the Mizrach side, where you have the 2 ksafim, the 2 shoulders, which is each 15 amos. Or 15 amos long, the curtain is 15 amos wide. The Torah says it gets three posts, again 5 amos per post, and the masach is the curtain is 20 amos wide. It gets 4 posts. and Rashi says in Trumah Rashi says that it's chamesh amos ben amud la amud, and Rashi's also said brought that Rashi's. The Makar for Rashi is also the Bireisah D'Mileches Hamishkon and the Yalkut. And it seems like the Psukim seem to tell that story. The Psukim say that it's clear that for every five amos of Kelah, for every 5 amos of curtain, the Torah is giving you another post. But the problem is that you can't have a curtain can't stand in the air. A curtain gets hung between 2 posts. So it doesn't get hung on 1 post. You can't get 5 amos out of 1 post. A curtain has to be in an avir. It has to be in the space between 2 posts. So if, let's say, by the kasef, let's say on the shoulder where there was 15 amos of curtain, you can't put up 15 amos of curtain in 3 posts, because 3 posts only has 2 spaces, and in 2 spaces you'll only get 10 amos if there's only 5 amos in between each post. The same would be in the masach, in the curtain in the front of the shar. The curtain had the Torah says it only had 4 posts, 4 amudim. And if you could only put 5 amos in between each post, in between each amud, you'll end up with only 15 amos. Yeah, you have 4 posts gives you 3 spaces, and with 3 spaces, 3 times 5 is only 15, and the Torah says you're supposed to have 20 amos. So that's the problem, and this is a problem all around in all parts of the Mishkon, where the Torah clearly is giving you 5 amos per amud, and still and 5 amos per amud, you're always going to be missing 1 amud to be holding the curtain on the other side. That's the problem. So the Mizrahi says, the Mizrahi's pshat that's brought down in the Sisei Chachamim. And we'll see the Rashash brings down this pshat at the end of the Rashash on the Medrash Rabbah. At the end of the Medrash Rabbah of Parshas Trumah, he just says he wants to say a pshat in the pasuk, and he says this pshat that each curtain, each wall was latching on and using the next wall's amud. So in other words, the Kosef was using its 3 amudim. It has 3 amudim over here. These 3 amudim was using these 3 amudim, which gave it only 2 spaces, which is 10 amos. Plus it used the amud of the following wall, which gave and there was which created another space, and that other space gave it that 15 amos. And the same would be in this wall. This wall also is supposed to have 100 amos. It only had 20 posts starting from this corner. It only had 20 posts, which would only make 19 spaces, which is 95 amos. So it got latched on to the the corner was started by the Ma'ariv side, and the Ma'ariv side created another space, and the same would be for the next side, and the next side. Every side there was another space created by starting the next wall, starting the next wall 5 amos away, and so each wall latched on to the next to the next direction's post in the corner. It latched on, creating another extra space, and that's how we went all the way around. And that's how going all the way around we created an extra post for each wall, because each wall was borrowing the usage of the neck of its neighbor's wall to latch onto and create a space. So that's how you had all these walls. But the problem is when you come to the end. When you come to the other shoulder, to this shoulder, over here we already started at this corner. And if we started at this corner, and with this corner I started 1, 2, 3, so I only had 2 spaces. So now on the second shoulder, how do I create 3 spaces? And the same problem is on the masach. If the masach was sticking out, if the masach was sticking out like this picture, like ArtScroll has it, that the masach was not in line with the rest of the with the whole mizrach wall. So then it's the kasef cannot use the amud of the masach, and you're stuck with only 2 spaces on this shoulder. You're stuck with only 10 amos, and you don't have 15 amos over here. So the Mizrahi says, and the Mizrahi explains more that it doesn't look like the picture we just showed. It looks more like the picture that Reb David Myers has in his sefer. In his sefer Mishkon v'Sefartoi, that it would have to look like this: that the masach, the masach, the opening was in line, all in one line with both sides, both shoulders, and so in other words, it was all connected. And now you could each part latched on to its neighbor, and you always created an extra 5 amos by spacing the next wall, the beginning of the next wall, 5 amos away from the end of this one. So starting over here by this shoulder, we started 1, 2, 3, and then we started the Dorim 5 amos away. So we had 3 spaces, which makes 15 amos, and that went all the way around. Then when it came to the masach, also you have 1, 2, 3. Which created 2 spaces, but then you latched on to the first one of the masach. That's the Eitzah of the Mizrahi and the Rashash. Now, and Lefiza, you would have to say that how did we get into the Chotz Mishkon if there was no way to go through the sides? So you would have to say that all the rest of the Kelayim, all the rest of the curtains were tied down on the bottom. This one wasn't tied down on the bottom, and we picked it up and went in. And they maybe even rolled it up. They picked it up, and this one was, and since this wasn't tied down from the bottom, that's how they went in. But the amudim were all along one line. Yeah. Now, what's interesting is that although the Rashash says this pshat. He says this pshat in the Psukim, and he says that the Psukim, this is the only way to understand the Psukim. When it comes to Tosfos and Eruvin, he says, but Tosfos and Eruvin is wrong. Tosfos and Eruvin says Taisus and Erevin daf beis amud beis. Taisus and Erevin is talking about the Pesach of the Chotzer, and it's talking about that he wants to know what's called a Pesach and what's not called a Pesach, what's called a Pirtz. And Taisus says, this is the lashon of Taisus. Afagav the Gimel amudim hayu ha'im the Taisus daf beis amud beis in Erevin. The top Taisus, the Ramachsu ben Rabban and ben Rabbi Yehuda. The Gimel amudim hayu oimdim bereichav haPesach kidemuch chikra. There were 3 amudim in the entrance of the Pesach kidemuch chikra. The Rashi says, "What do you mean Gimel amudim? I just explained you the psukim. The psukim are clear that there's 4 amudim. What's Taisus saying? And he says he feels that we should change the girsa. What's interesting is that it would seem that the Pshat in Taisus is mamish exactly like the Rashash and the Mizrachi's Pshat in the Psukim. Because the only way you can get 3 amudim in the middle of this passageway is only with their Pshat. The pasuk says there was 4 amudim. Where's 3 come from? And especially if you learn that the Mosque was sticking out in front of the Pesach, so it wasn't in the passageway at all. It was in front of the Pesach, and people went in and around, right? Like this other picture. The people went around, so there was no amudim at all in the middle. Nobody stuck. Nobody went in at all. They just went around. Taisus is going with the Mizrachi and the Rashash, and that's exactly what Taisus says. Taisus says there was Gimel amudim in the middle because there was the first one that started on the side. And there was another one that was latched on to the Kasev's amud, and there was 3 that were in the middle, and they were in the middle. They were a long line. Kidemuch chikra. That's what Taisus says. Kidemuch chikra. Why kidemuch chikra? The Torah doesn't say it mefurish that there was 3. And the Torah doesn't say mefurish that they were in line with the ksafim, with the shoulders, with the other parts of the mizrach wall. The only reason why I'm saying there was a line on the mizrach walls of Taisus is kidemuch chikra, because otherwise you have the problem of the missing post. And you wouldn't know how to put up how you could get 5 amos out of 5 amos out of an amud if you can't latch onto its neighbor. So that's what it says, that since it's muchikra, that the mizrach was in line like this picture, that they're in one big line. Since they're in one big line, so that's why Taisus is asking Akasha that you have 3 amudim in the way in this passageway. So Taisus daf beis amud beis is a riot to the Rashash and the Mizrachi's Pshat. And Lemaisa Taisus is not the only Baal Taisus that says this. There's the Riva with it. Now there's the they printed with the Rabbi Seinu Bali Taisus. There's the Riva, and the Riva says this Pshat. He says this Pshat, and that each wall was latching on to the next one, and I mean this part he doesn't realize, but this you would have to say that it's all along one big line. But he says that each wall was latched onto the next one, and that's how you created an extra space in each direction. I just want to realize one thing that there's a basic problem over here. The basic problem is that, so what's found in the pasuk? I mean, the Torah tells us, the Torah didn't say have 21 amudim on this direction. And the Torah didn't say have corners. The Torah says 20. The Torah over here doesn't say have 9 or 11. Even though it's using 11 posts, it says use 10. What is that? Why does the Torah say it that way? Why does the Torah say to make 20 here and 10 here when it's not really true? Over here, I'm using 11. I'm using 21 over here. I'm using 11 over here. One is in the corner that's using both. In all directions, that's a problem. So he wants this mechaber wants to say that the difference is the direction of the post. I mean, it doesn't answer the kasha as much. I mean, the Torah seems to be saying clearly that there's 20 amudim on this direction, and it's not true. There's 21 amudim, either 21 amudim, or say that there's 19 plus 2 corners, like we have in the Krashim itself. Why does the Torah say 20? So I just want to suggest that how was the Mishkon put up? It's not clear exactly how was it put up. In other words, did they first put up the amudim and then they put up the curtain? Or maybe they that's for sure that the curtain got taken apart. The amudim and the curtain got taken apart. It wasn't. They didn't travel this way. There was the Bnei Merari and there was different Levim that carried the amudim and different ones that carried the Kelayim. But when they were putting it together, did they put it together first? Stick up this. Put up the amudim and then after that hang the curtain? Or did they put it all together on the floor and then pick it up? So I would like to suggest a little bit for the mashmois of the psukim, and also it's much more practical. It was a 5 amos high, these amudim, to first stick them into the ground and then have to try to hang it. It would seem it's much easier to just put together the whole thing on the floor, tie it all up with all the knots and everything on the floor, and then after that pick it up all at once and hang it. If the walls were put together first on the floor, then the psukim would be beautiful. And that's what the Torah says. The Torah says, the Torah doesn't say make posts and then make Kelayim. The Torah says, Vasisas chatzar Mishkon lepas negev teimana Kelayim lachatza, make Kelayim ve'amudav and its posts v'chein lepas tzafim ba'orich Kelayim e'orich ve'amudav esrim. Again, each time it seems to be that there was like a curtain and it had its posts. Not that you put up the posts and then after that put up and hung up the Kelayim on it, and that's why maybe at the end of Pekudei, it doesn't say when the Torah is when they're putting together the Mishkon, it doesn't say put up the posts and then hang up the curtains. It just says Vayakam esachotzer sav the Mishkon. Just put it up one. If they were putting the posts in place first and then and hanging the curtain, it would seem that the Torah should spell out the 2 parts. However, if they put it together something that wasn't going to be in its place, they were putting together the whole wall as the posts with its curtain, they're putting together on the floor, and then they picked it up together. It would make sense to say Mishkon, that they picked it up all at once, and that's when it got to its place. So now it's good. Even though each wall used its neighboring wall, but it was put together on the floor. It was put together actually without that extra wall. It had one side of curtain that was flapping, that was not attached to any post, and but the rest of the wall was all put together, was all nicely tied up with the curtain and the post. And then they picked it up and put it in place into the Adonim, and they tied it to the next wall.